All right, so this is more of a update to that secondhand trauma video. I guess you could say part two or update to that video. But I'm not gonna lie, this I do feel like it's a huge weight off my shoulder. I'm kind of like excited or whatnot, even though this is a bad topic. I'm kind of excited because it's been a weight on my shoulder for years, decades, and just talking about it and just putting it out there. So I guess if Angel watches looking or y'all know anybody to get in contact. I don't even know how to reach them really, but I guess put this in front of them for their attention. But yes, I mean, it's like Friday or whatnot, and I'm in Thailand, so I mean, I probably celebrate. To me, speaking on this, and to me, it's like a celebration to kind of face this stuff, and so I might celebrate, give me a drink or something like that. But I'm just happy to do it, even though it's a bad, sad topic. But just kind of speaking on, I guess, getting into it. One thing I did notice, like with my oldest brother, when he, because like I said, I'm talking about the secondhand trauma topic and what my third oldest brother has been facing and going through. Me and him was on the phone, and like it's basically updates, and I never shared it with him as well what I went through, with the sexual assault from my oldest brother. So I just just putting it after I filmed this the first I guess videos, if y'all see me with the brown shirt on. After I filmed that, I ended up calling my third oldest brother, and I just told him what was up. Like, hey, and I just kind of led with that because so he would feel more comfortable being honest and talking about whatever it may be. So I just told him like, hey, I went through this sexual assault with my oldest brother, and I just told him, what happened. And I was like, hey, I do have a memory of you, like, sitting there, like you were on the bed, like kind of like playing with your toy or something, whatever was in your hand. You was kind of had to act like you didn't know what was going on, and like that's like a traumatic thing as well, going through that. So I pretty much asked him about it and asked him, did he remember? He was like, yeah. He was like, yeah, I do remember that, but I just buried it in my thoughts. He was like, he buried it in his thoughts and kind of pushed it down. And I did the same thing too. For a long time, I kind of suppressed all of that stuff. It was buried in my memory for a long time. I would try not to think about it, but it will come up from like in a serious way. Like I would think about it often, but the aggressive thoughts of it, or the worst part of it, that'll come up like every blue moon, I guess. But one thing I did notice, so as we were talking, I told him like, hey, that was my experience X, Y, and Z, but I thought it was just me. Come to find out, after I expressed my experience, he told me. So I just asked him directly, basically. I said, "Hey, well, did anything happen to you?" Because I thought he was suffering from secondhand trauma, but I mean, he was. But I asked him, like, "Hey, did he do anything to you?" And he was like, "Yeah, he did," but he didn't want to go into detail. Like I was a little bit more descriptive of what happened to a certain extent, but I've never seen anything with him, with my third oldest and my oldest brother. I didn't see anything happen. So I thought he was just suffering and kind of like a little bit on some people will see him, and I would at one point I was calling him kind of crazy as well, a little bit too. But I mean, I guess you could have it. I guess you could say he's had his over the top moments or crazy moments. But now looking back over everything, he's more. I guess if you whether you're a Kanye fan or not, some of the things that Kanye has been right on, that's more my brother. Like he's kind of like Kanye in that manner. So he's been right about a lot of things, and but his delivery, and he's more hostile with his, a little bit aggressive. But basically, so saying all that to say, he's probably gonna be mad at me for saying this, and I gotta accept it because I mean, it's about I'm supposed to be speaking about myself, but I mean, I'm kind of outing him, but I'm not outing him because, like I say, I'm a straight man. I'm not bisexual or gay, and we talked about it. And I reiterated, I vocalized that to him. He was like, yeah, well, he expressed the same thing. He's not bi or gay or anything like that. It's just one of those things where with society and our community, the black community, it's such a big topic to where you can't even be honest and say things. And for those who out there who are bisexual, gay, or down low or whatever it may be, man, just be cool with this shit. People who don't want to fuck with you, just accept it. Like they already don't fuck with you anyway, if that's what you are. And we're we're in a different time from basically when I was, I grew up in the 90s. I was born in the 90s. So that was a different time then. But for those who are, hey man, feel comfortable with yourself, man. Don't even trip about that. Like people who don't want to fuck with you, they just needed an excuse anyway. Just give them that excuse to get them out of your life. Forget them. But so just to address other topics, so yeah, that happened, and so something I thought about too. My oldest brother would kind of joke around and play a lot, and he would, throw his I guess bisexual ways or whatever in there, like to try to play with you. But so I say that to say, don't be fooled by that. He joking around and playing like that. That's just his way. Don't be confused by it, because that's just his way of disguising what his real intentions are, his true intentions. So I say that to say, because it could be other, scenarios out there. They trying to like cover that. They do a little play. You know how, for example, in basketball, you know how they like smack you on the butt and stuff like that. I've seen him do that with different people, but just a case in point was his first wife, her son. I seen him do that before with him. Of course, he was underage at the time, blah, blah, blah. So you get the point. Um, I haven't, with the other videos, I wasn't like dropping names or anything like that, but I will say, Courtney Hicks, I will put that out there. And even with me doing these videos, I'm supposed to be, I may go ahead and book a flight. I'm in Thailand. I'm supposed to be booking a flight over to Cambodia tomorrow. So I'll just kind of figure out hurry up and do this, because I was like, man, I would hate for, let's just say if I was to die in a plane crash or something like that, I would hate for me to just die with this information. It's so much information, whether it be, so much knowledge. I love my older people, my old people, because they have so much knowledge. I feel like they're like a walking book. Or even when topics like this, bad topics like this, and then people die with that knowledge, die with that information. So I was just thinking like, man, if I'm gonna go ahead and book this flight to Cambodia tomorrow, let me just go ahead and uh, do this video real quick, just in case. I would hate for to miss that opportunity to get this information out there. Um, and so me talking about all this stuff is just like a cautionary tale to oh, it's one more point I want to make. But yeah, this is another point I'm gonna make. But yeah, it's like a cautionary tale to black families, black community. It's just kind of like one of those things where it may be a lot. I've heard of other cases um of this happening, and we kind of like, I guess, we maybe brush it under the rug and all that type of stuff. So I just want to. I think a lot of this stuff can be prevented, and so yeah. Um, and another thing too. I remember, so me and my brother was having this conversation. It was like a 45-minute conversation, me and him talking after I called him, my third oldest brother. We was talking, and he was just saying like, yeah, he remember, this is back when the third oldest and the oldest were still cool. I don't think they're cool anymore, but he was like, he remember seeing the third oldest remember seeing the oldest changing his daughter's diaper. And so what he's telling me on the phone, he was like, yeah, he was changing his diaper. I mean, the one of his daughter's diapers, and he was like, his wife was like, you changing them pampers, you taking them pampers off like they some panties or something. And I was like, damn, I was blown away. That probably hit me worse than finding out like that was going on with my brother. That hit me worse. I'm like, damn, like you looking at like infants, like babies like this. So it is, man. Look, we need to just. It's a lot of work to be done. Let's put it that way. And we need more positive, you know, positive role models on both sides. I love my elders. I always love kicking it with them growing up, like my grandma or just elders in church and all this other stuff. I love kicking it with my old folks. They always got wisdom to share and all that. I miss those good days. And shout out to